as a non-heart failure physician or surgeon to consider the ejection fraction or something else when the patients are coming for assessment to minimize their risk and to minimize their unfavorable outcomes. So the answer is again not straightforward. Ejection fraction is one part of the cardiac assessment. Here we are discussing the ejection fractions for those patients where we already have established diagnosis of heart failure. So in your scenario, if the patient who is not known to have heart failure, but again, if you go back to the clinical, the history, the basic, the history goes with the heart failure symptoms. He has apnea, he has ENT, he has exertional dyspnea, and your assessment reveals that he has signs of volume overload, high JVP distension. Then you go step by step. The BNP levels. If somebody comes up with a BNP of 2,000, of course, this is not normal. And then EF, let's suppose EF is 50% or 55%. So then you go to the other parameters. Our echo colleagues will further say to check for the straining, the relaxations, the diastology, and I will ask my colleague to comment on that. But that's basically all the features will give you a solid answer that this patient having a heart failure. If, for example, BNP is 60 and there is no JVP distension, patient is obese and having some respiratory disorder, so it means this dyspnea is not coming from the cardiac side. It's coming from the other perspectives. But we have to evolve the pulmonology to improve this, essentially to do how you use ventilation rather than more focusing on the cardiac. So again, if it's heart failure, yes, then we have to switch over all gears and all backups on these patients to optimize. Again, the risk will be there, but at least we can to some extent minimize the peri-operative or post-operative immediate complications.
Also, I would like to look that ischemia also is an important part that's very common in our population. So if we diagnose that the patient have a heart failure, so it's very important before we go to the OR that we understand what the etiology of the heart failure, and we rule out ischemia.
Ischemia causes diastolic dysfunction, and then it's another contributing factor. Absolutely.
I mean, this is important. Whether, I'm going to kill him or the baby will kill me.
Because it would be out of the focus of the, but as we know that if somebody is going for a surgery, for a pre-op assessment, in pre-op assessment, if somebody is having a limited mass below 4, so what you do, you goes with the nuclear assessment to see an ischemia as mentioned. So ischemia assessment is very. If there's no ischemia, then you follow the algorithms.
Any other? Hello, كيف حالك؟ تفضل. في مايك.
Better raise the voice.
Just looking about ejection fraction, I think about what it said and talking about something that we always face. It's actually, I think, with anesthesia, rather than the orthopedic surgeon. We always ask for pre-op assessment. There's nothing in the guideline to do pre-op. In fact, some people have seen with ejection fraction 8% and they walk around marathon, So ejection fraction is not in the equation, You look to the patient as a whole, you see the patient, you assist the patient, and you classify the patient into low, intermediate, and high risk. There is no zero risk, almost there is a risk. So it's either low, intermediate, and high risk. And the operation also is low, intermediate, and high risk. Although the surgery is intermediate risk. Vascular surgery is high risk. But the ejection fraction, I think we should never put this idea of always doing an echo. And sometimes we face Dr. She faces the same problem. We always see people ask for echo to guide the fluid management. We always ignore our clinical sense and start to deal with technology. Ejection fraction is just one of the markers. it's not something that you rely on. In fact, now the guidelines tell you can have heart failure with no resistant fraction. So why should we do an echo before surgery? So it's not in the guidelines at all. As I told you, the heart failure, or what they call it, heart function clinic, you see patients actually they walk a marathon with ejection fraction of 10%. So EF can be normal, and patient is very sick. EF can be severely reduced, and patient is active and can tolerate any session.
I can comment on
Please, go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, I agree with your comments that there's nothing called zero risk. It's always low to intermediate or high risk categories. But why we do echo? The reason to do echo mainly is to know what you have, especially if you're dealing with the highest population. For example, most of the population is almost 60% in one of the studies in people who have diabetes. Diabetes is considered as coronary artery disease equivalent. They can have some clinical ischemia. So maybe we have seen in our heart function clinic, patient had been coming with an EF of 15% when they crashed. But do you think this EF 15% and they have normal countries? They have been surviving with this low EF for years, for a couple of years, or 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. They have been stable, but all of a sudden they decompensated. Or some patients you just incidentally pick them with an EF of 20% and they are still compensated. So, and if though that patient is living on the edge, you are going to the OR, and with the routines, post-operative, you are giving the gush of fluids and the plasma expanders. Imagine what will happen. You will fill your lungs with the fluids. So the baseline is important. But again, you have to know all other entities, all other comorbidities into your consideration before clearing him for surgery.
If you allow me, this is a tragedy actually. If you look at osteoporosis, everything that leads to osteoporosis leads to heart failure with reserved ejection fraction. Quality of life, comorbidities, types of food people are taking, weight, it's just the same end. So having one of these break points, either a break of a bone or a break of function like overloaded, is unfortunately the ultimate to what we have to work on. So I totally agree about having an echo, looking at the whole patient. We treat the patient, not the number or a screen. But the real work comes after surgery, because you need to shift the ear backwards, 10, 15 years back to the way this person was working, living, the way he functions, the way he eats, the way he breathes, the way he drinks, the way he thinks. If you cannot do that, he's going to die from heart failure of reserved ejection fraction, he's going to die from the complication of the surgery, he's going to die from the comorbidities. I don't know, to my personal knowledge, a more louder alarm than having a broken bone due to osteoporosis. It means everything is wrong, everything in the body. So, we have heart failure and a mortality of 50% in 5 years, probably around 23 to 28% in the first year. And all of that is due to the comorbidities, which you face every day with osteoporosis. So if we have one more question, because now we're going to have a parallel 2 workshops on echocardiography. One will be led here by Dr. Morsi, and the other one, if you go through the restaurant, inside the restaurant, all the way, there is a room called Tabuk meeting room. Dr. Sarah will be waiting for you there for the same echocardiography workshop. So our last question.
Yeah, and given an advice to a therapist or family physician, what if we have a patient with heart failure and wants to start right away with the most beneficial anti-failure drug? Because we have a good spectrum now, like we're going from SGLT2 inhibitors recently, MRA and the ACE inhibitors. So is there any preference among those guys, you know? What's the most beneficial one we can start with to be safe for the patient until we refer to the cardiologist? Because sometimes it takes like 2 to 3 months to refer. So how we manage this? Thank you.
Very good.
The guidelines, the latest guidelines from both the European and the American guidelines, they say that you have to start with 4 pillars at the same time. Yeah, no upscaling like the previous guidelines that you start with the beta blocker and the ACE with ARB, and then you upgrade. Now the new guidelines, both European and American, say that you start the 4 pillar at the same time. So my advice that start the 4 pillars at the lowest possible dose until the patient reaches the cardiologist.
That the aim is to start with the 4, but again, there are certain exceptions. For example, the patient is very wet, coming with the full of fluids in his lungs, then your beta blocker will be postponed to 24 hours or maximum 48 hours. There's enough time to dry him out. Similarly, if you see your potassium level is above 5, then you can have some time to lower his potassium levels. Then meanwhile you can, because these RAS inhibitors, ACE or ARBs, they're all, and ARBs, they're all done at 4 pump of the potassium. Your potassium is 3-ish of in between below 4.5. You have a good one. You can start everything. And what my meaning is, still the chronic heart failure patients in the clinic. Yes, you have to start with the 4. As the last slide I mentioned, strong agent. They're talking about expedition of all these medications to achieve the maximum dose within 2 weeks. And it has shown, it's 87 countries trial that has shown multiple changes.
I have a small comment. The beauty is that all these medications are very well known to internists and families. Either SGA2, beta blocker, diuretics, all of them are very well consumed by our colleagues in different specialties. So if you have a referral span of a month or 2 months, no, I rarely think that we have a sole heart failure with no comorbidities. You can use all this time to improve the comorbidities, to improve the blood sugar, improve the lipids, improve the quality of life, the mobilization of the patient, and address all the 4 pillars freely. Maybe some of us are not familiar with Drestabrak, the Army group. It's not a big deal. It can always be shifted at any time. It's not a big deal. The ACE and the ARBs are very good groups to start with. They all are RAS inhibitors mechanisms. But going back to your question, you want to start with this, you will start with that, and then you can be involved. So, Aluna. Thank you very much. It's time to split now. Dr. Ayman will be here, Dr. Abdel will be there, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day in the rehab and echocardiography. Assalamu alaikum.
He was working with me before, and he sat down together.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
عايزين نقسم الجروبس عشان الانسان ما يزعلش. Shall you come here? Come here. Come here. What's the sound? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Try to concentrate. Thank you very much for inviting us to this opportunity for workshop. Cardiologists always they like workshop. Why? In order to give you everything you wanted in your practice. Everything. Right? So my talk today, heart failure therapy and their implementation till what? Till last week. Last week. So I want for cardiologists, I don't know how cardiologist is here, but I want to concentrate it very well about the last publication, which is breakthrough trial, which is we'll see broken the guideline soon. This is important message. Right, about the fellowships, I see 3 or 4 fellowships here. Examination is always in online talk, just make it easy. See here, intended learning outcome. Cardiologists like this term, not like agenda in workshop. So in workshop, we like this term, ILOS. So we'll start by AM clinical activity, and I will finish by the answer. So you are the one which is give you questions, you will answer, give you score, and then correct your paper. Simple? Simple. The question here is starting from baseline cardiologist to sophisticated heart failure specialty consultant. Simple? Second thing, everybody now knows about footballers. So I won't talk any single word about it. Lastly, 2 case scenario which is seen every day in your practice. One, de novo heart failure, and I want everybody to use de novo versus naive. De novo, naive. Right? Lastly here, case number 2, which is not touched in our 3 speaker. What is the role of army therapy in mild reduced CKD patients? Right? And I will give you Paramount, which is trial, everybody is supposed to know, but I will concentrate here about last week trial, which is called Baraglide trial. If you get it from me now, what to mean by Baraglide trial is enough. Right? So, okay, nicely. I'm a nurse clinical activity, just to become simple. You are the one which will answer. I will start by very basic physiology, and then I end by sophisticated question, but everybody, yes or no? Only yes or no? First one is, I like it this way in all fellows. NY classification of patients with HRAF or heart failure is not a linear, rather than dynamic. Anybody want to know what's meant by linear, dynamic? I will see now. So take this one now. Fine. Second one, this is important. Heart failure with preserving function, experience similar or worse limitation of daily activity compared with reduced or improved ejection fraction. We broke the rule. No, the problem is yes. in order to everybody say heart failure's preserved function is something fun. No, it's not fun. At least here, the daily activity is more worse than death and death. Right? Second one is very important slide. Very important question. Here, congestion, all if you rate it 1, 2, 3, 4, this is the rule of Bath, which is enough. But just to say yes or no. Heart failure with preserved function is congestion and increased CVD clinically equal to increased LVDBs physiologically or elevated NAD biochemically equal to EE ratio more than 13 anatomically or by echocardiogram. Who say yes? This is the era, yes, yes. If you get it, this point is enough, right? So in heart failure, preserving function, this is a conclusion. This is a conclusion. Okay, this is important for clinician. When you use ARNI or SGLT2 inhibitor are started, the initial decrease GFR and even increase serum creatinine up to 25 ml per meter per 1.73 square meter. Don't worry at all. In order to, in long run, you will get a lot of benefit, cardiology side and nephro side. You believe that or not? ARNI and SGLT2 inhibitors. I feel your feeling. I feel your feeling. Nicely. This is important actually, in order to supposed to be knows if you are using it as an ER colleagues. 1. Heart failure generally, natriuretic peptide is pathognomonic biochemical tool to diagnose heart failure in markedly obese people and in the stage renal patient on dialysis. You believe for that? No. Perfect. So, if you are ER man and you get a patient in ER with heart failure, elevated natriuretic peptide is not trustable. Especially troponin T, always the friend of the kidney. Simple? Simple. Lastly, this is important for cardiologists. We'll go deeply now, little bit. We'll go deeply now. Patients have a stable VSR, ventricular septal rupture, status post-MI in third day MI. This means your patient is what? Heart failure with reduced ejection fraction, status post-MI, third day patient have ventricular rupture. What's my question here? ARNI is good option to start till open heart surgery done in the form of CABG plus VECE repair. Who say yes? Who say no? So what is the benefit of my talk? Everybody will say, benefit. This is very important, by the way. Right? We'll see now. NAD-proBNP was found to be strongest independent predictor to final diagnosis of acute heart failure. Right? Till now is right. But also for guided therapy. You agree or not? No, it's enough. Nice. From 4 foundational heart patients, SGLT2 inhibitor is the only group you can give him even the patient is not doing echo. Regardless of ejection fraction. Yes. Nicely. Perfect. Here, I'm very happy to know a orthopedic surgeon around. Very, very glad, honestly. Nicely. This important actually here, heart failure patient discontinue or reduce the dose of calcium channel blocker plus or minus nitrate therapy in patients with lower baseline blood pressure to better support secondary blood attack to be initiated or treated. Yes, it's very important for cardiologists. We don't like calcium channel blocker at all. We don't like nitrate. We don't like it, both of them, especially in hypertension. So please try to wean heart failure patient with calcium channel blocker except if there is really needed. What's nitrate serum, for God's sake? It should just have enough. What's the nitrate? So both of them decrease blood pressure, and then you decrease the mortality as if you are not given well the RAS blockade, either ARNI, ACE, or angiotensin blocker, or MRA, your patient has become less deteriorated. So try always to wean calcium channel blocker nitrates, and always you can get diuretic therapy quickly as if the patient is eupholemic. I think very simple. Fine. Now we go for cardiology purely now. Paraglide heart failure trial, very important. Paraglide heart failure trial in BEF is mirror than pioneer heart failure in REF. Nobody knows about Paraglide, so we'll keep this one and then we'll give the answer. Right? Anybody knows what we mean by Paraglide trial? We'll see now. Nice. So I don't like to go for this CPR in patients heart failure. So our aim to decrease this issue. The second important thing is one here. Listen to these videos, very simple videos. No sound. Sound system to
For the patient, he's not okay as it seems.
So we go from again.
I think I'm okay, Dr. Abrams, but I can't walk for a long distance, as I used to do before. I'm just getting old.
As you all heard the patient, he's not okay as it seems. Dear doctors, let me share with you the main 4 pillars with the updated guidelines ESC and ACC Consensus 2021 to start for heart failure with reduced ejection fraction. First one, start army with confidence after checking blood pressure and lab tests. Second, beta blockers. Third, MRAs. And fourth, add-on SGLT2 inhibitors. Once again, first start army, second beta blockers, third MRAs, fourth SGLT2I.
Nicely. These are 4 pillars. I will make only one comment. First of all, first pillar is RAS blockade on top of the army. First stop. Second thing is a good evidence-based beta blocker, everybody knows. Long-acting metoprolol, which is succinate, bisoprolol, carvedilol, and lastly, metoprolol if you are in Europe. MRA, it is too important here in Saudi Arabia, spironolactone or ibrinon, and if you have in your hospital ibrinon, it is much, much better than spironolactone. In order to spironolactone have 2 important side effects, gynecomastia and erectile dysfunction. In Saudi Arabia, and a few weeks ago, Qana. So always available now. Right? Nebivolol, don't forget, nebivolol, if either, you can use it, especially in all the fragile heart failure patients, according to senior studies. Fine. These slides I like for all my presentation. Only watch the green area, green zone. These published were in American Journal of Cardiology. They mention the heart failure colleagues have very, very badly clinical inertia. What we mean by clinical inertia, you can see 33% of patients supposed to be take beta blocker therapy, but without any contraindication, not given. Right? Again, in ACE and ARBIS without ARMI, you can see 39.1% without any contraindication due to you are not understanding well the pathophysiology of heart failure. Lastly, here, MRA, which is very good medication, ستبدأ. You can see here 56.9, means 66%. Without any contraindication, the physician, sorry to say, is heart failure, please. They are not given that. See the main issue. ARMI, see 86.1, not given the medication.
and all of them is cardiologists. If you connect all RAS to locate ACE, angiotensin, and the RAS to locate all and RE, you can do 260.2 is not given without any contraindication. So we need to overlap this clinical inertia. Here, our Dr. Hisham mentioned very nicely, I only mentioned one important thing about remodeling, meaning what? If your patient more decrease ejection fraction, you see more mortality and hospitalization. Simple. Again, there, more increase in LV decrease, left ventricular end-diastolic volume, more increase, more death and mortality and hospitalization. Again, here in left ventricular systolic volume. See here, there is something important to be mentioned. Only 9% increase risk of death or heart failure and hospitalization per 10 ml increase in LVDs. See? So we need medication to act as anti-remodeling therapy, like ARI. Right? Okay, what is the second important thing for remodeling again? Ejection fraction. Only 10% decrease in ejection fraction, you ask for 45% cardiovascular death, chronic heart failure, hospitalization, and the cardiovascular death 57%. See now, concentrated here, right? Where is this published in circulation? Similar result, approximately the same, but if your patient ejection fraction drop less than 20, you see how it is 48% and heart failure hospital 52. So we need medication, we need instrumentations, we need intervention, we need pharmacology to get as an anti-remodeling therapy. Last year, again, the same thing. When left ventricular systolic volume index decreased by more than 15%, the long-term mortality decreased by 16%. So we need anti-remodeling therapy. The heart failure therapy is pharmacologically, interventionally, surgically, electrically. Right? Nice. First case which you see in your practice every day. Every day. One. 18 years old male patient admitted in our ER. This is our real patient under ER, our ER. In recent diagnosis of dilated cardiomyopathy. He smoked and he positive family history of dilated cardiomyopathy. Ejection fraction is only 15% by echo and the big LV loss. I think all cardiologists will see this one as a takeoff. What it functionally is NYHA class 3, examination 105/70 dB, heart rate 1110, AFib, saturation was normal in room air, patient is obese and orthopnic during admission. ECG, nothing important, some SCTD changes, control AFib. Echo, our echo done from our colleagues, they mentioned approximately the same, and a very big, huge recent LV loss. NED, proBNP supposed to be metric. It's 4,500 with rest of chemistry is normal. Patient received aggressive anti-failure therapy in our ER, hereditary IV is somebody with dish therapy and MRA. Beta blocker definitely is introduced after iluvulemic, after tudenine, and always the CT angiogram or cardiac test done, and it's normal. And this is my concern. Don't say patient is RAF idiopathic form except to rule out CE. So don't say patient have ejection fraction is very poor without to know the etiology, and don't use term of idiopathic form of dilated myopathy except to rule out CE. Okay, this is only one question for you. Shall you initiate secretary valsartan in this patient during admission, or we will initiate later on in the first OBD visit? Who say yes? Senior cardiologist, Dr. say definitely yes. Anybody say no? Orthopedic consultant, even he say yes. Even orthopedics, they say yes, definitely. Give me proof if you don't mind. Nice. Definitely, we start secretary valsartan 50 milligram BID in day 4 of admission. Patient did well, become ambulatory with no orthopnea, heart rate control, and we plan for discharge with the INR therapeutic. At discharge, everything is fine. BD only 100, heart rate 82, effect, and our INR start to become approximately therapeutic. Kidney function is normal. 4-week discharge, he is perfectly well. He down to NYHA plus 1 to 2, and the proBNP dropped from 4,500 to only 950. So your decision is right. Right? So we'll start here is a video to see when the patient is 15%, and now it has become approximately 35. Video. No, we need here, not here. Very good diction. Yes. And I have to I know it. Yes, but definitely dilated LV from even you have not see the ECG from the echo, it looks fine. Even from echo, definitely dilated, but it is not 15, it is little bit improved. Right now, dilated huge LV, short axis parasternal view, is 84. You can see the fluttering of post leaflet as it effect. So you can see here, control effect. You can see LV may be resolved after 4 to 6 weeks of authorization. I think no key LV out here is being at least. Full shot of you here, fluttering of total calculation. Full shot of the LV area may be still resolving LV block, maybe. Screenshot of you. Definitely still LV damage, definitely, but not 15 at least. I will measure now and see how exactly, even by bulimic state, LV in systolic volume and LV systolic volume, which is mentioned here. 32 ejection fraction, at least from 15. All right. Okay, thank you very much. Back to my slides. So initiation of RD therapy in hospital, it is important and supposed to be recommended, and the evidence base is what you can say, pioneer trial. Pioneer trial. What's pioneer trial? To make it very quickly review for cardiologists and others. This 52% is naive. Naive mean, you can mention here, patient not been before in hospital care. And as a cardiologist, we like almost the de novo. In order to most of our patients is de novo, especially young. And they presented 34% is de novo. This means the pioneer heart failure study, it is very important study. Why? In order to give me very solid evidence base to start RNA in hospital. Right. Here, okay, pioneer key inclusion criteria, and supposed to everybody knows here, hospitalized for acute decompensated HBrEF. In order to the new trial is HBF. So the pioneer is mirror of the new era of the new trial, which is supposed to be happening now. Ejection fraction is REF, less than 40. NB probably be 1,600 or BNB more than 400. And this important message for all our colleagues. Before you start ARNI, suppose become stable. What do we mean by stable? What do you mean by stable according to the trial? الناس اللي بيحفظوا جدول الضرب 4 في 6 ب 24. أنا عارف طبعا إن أنت مبسوطة جدا. 4 في 6 ب 24 صح؟ معناها إيه دي؟ لازم systolic blood pressure more than 100 in last 6 hours. Last year, no increase of IV diuretic therapy in last 6 hours. Lastly, no any vasodilator therapy whatsoever in last 6 hours. And lastly, 24-hour patient, no need for immunotropic support. This is very important. So don't start ARNI except when your patient is stabilized, right? Or compensation for stability by this way. Okay, nice. What other exclusion criteria here? Patient already in secretary valve time, history of hypersensitivity, patient on history of angioedema, and requirement of ACE and ARCs. This one, again, one of the exclusion, G4 less than 30. The new study is go down to less than 20. So in BEF, less than 20, and REF, less than 30. Take care. Second thing here, non-hepatic impairment, and this are serum potassium more than 5.2. Right? This very important thing. We don't give ARNI whatsoever in acute vascular events, meaning acute coronary syndrome, acute CVA, acute BVDs, and it is very common for our registrar. Why? They go and see the patient for consultation, patient after peripheral arterial disease stenting, which is very common in our side. And the ejection fraction is what? 20. He give ARNI, he give MRA, he give beta blockers. Answer is no. The pioneer is excluded fully. The patient is acute coronary syndrome, patient after stroke, patient after BDAs, after peripheral arterial disease, even after carotid angioplasty. Right? So don't give ARNI in these scenarios. The net result is very perfect. You can see, I think Dr. Hisham Khalil mentioned what is the relation between biochemical leak and the morbidity and mortality. So the difference between the mother of ACE inhibitor, which is enalapril therapy, in compared to Entresto, 29% greater improvement in Entresto to decrease biochemical leak, which is true BNB. Second important thing, 46% of what? Of deaths, heart failure, hospitalization, and use LVAD or transplant. If you compare Entresto here and enalapril here, you can see very statistically significant, 46% significantly reduced. Lastly, not least, which is important thing, and I think this is one message for everybody. When you use or when you treat patient of recent heart failure, mean de novo, it is very quickly to improve than the chronic. So if you are the cardiologist, when you see de novo patient, quickly manage the patient recover. You can see here very clearly. The effect of Entresto therapy, it is very magic if you compare de novo versus chronic. Second important thing here, secretory valsartan even in de novo and worse chronic heart failure, you can see the differences between B and B. So to be treated patient in naive, it is difficult to treat the patient with de novo. This important message actually, right? This patient, it is very simple to be removed quickly, right? Lastly, even here, about mortality and the revascularization, even the de novo is better, very well than most chronic heart failure, right? Fine. Again, one of the important trials, I think I want to declare it even by one important evaluate heart failure trial, which sees aortic stiffness regarded to biochemical heart failure leak. And this important slides again. Why? In order to the screening period, and they go for gentle dose of secondary valsartan with gentle dose of enalapril, and then go to the maximum dose. What is the maximum dose? Is 200. And is the maximum dose of enalapril 10 milligram BID. What is exactly you can see? You can see something very magically. What's important thing here, all the myocardial remodeling parameter, it is magically increased. And this important thing here. So significant greater reduction from baseline 12 weeks in all the parameters of remodeling. That's why you can say very nicely here, secretary valsartan, it is acting very well, not only about the paradigm or paradigms or pioneer, only if we evaluated heart failure trial. Lastly here, proof trial again. They give the patient of heart failure and give secretary valsartan, and they starting from gentle dose 50 to up to 200 BID, open label treatment, and the number is 795. What is exactly here? You can see all the parameter of remodeling is improving well if you use RB therapy in this study again. So what do you want to know? So again here from 6 to 12 months, lower rate of reduction of NAB proBNP and the left ventricular systolic volume index were associated with greater risk of heart failure hospitalization and death. This yellow box is very nicely, you can concentrate about it. Heart failure hospitalization or death were significantly higher with patients with at or below average linear slope in compared to the patients above average slope. So supposed to be used RB as if take coffee in the morning, as if you have evidence base here. Nice. That's why European Society of Cardiology make it easily. Don't let your patient to go home without RB, please, as if you make it stability lab work parameter as if we mentioned. 4 16 right? Here, both of them, American and European, he say, the patient with HBrEF with NYHE class 2 to 3 symptoms, the use of RE is recommended to reduce morbidity and mortality. Nicely. Second case is very important patient, as you see early morning. I go range heart failure with CKD in order to most of our patients have heart failure with element of CKD. And I will give you some evidence base very quickly. Here, 59 years female patient, status post-cabbage time 6 since 12 years. أي حاجة فيها علامة X معناها 6 جرافت. تايم معناها كام جرافت. since يعني كام سنة. سهلة؟ كارديولوجي كلهم سهلين. طيب. So 59 patient cabbage time 6, 12 years ago with mitral valve repair, which is very commonly admitted by worsening congestive failure, and I think we like it to everybody use worsening congestive failure, not decompensated failure. NY class A2 to 3, high GVB, lung congestion, abdomen zone, lower limb edema plus 2, heart rate 89, BB 111 over 70, and hair lap perfect. All hair lap is perfect, except serum creatinine 2.2, and the creatinine clearance is 40. I think most of your patients like that, right? I'm very happy, I know. Right? NAB proBNP is very high, right? So, ECG, no acute ischemic changes, echo is 40 to 45. And our colleagues mentioned, Dr. Ajaz, they say, don't use please patient as a number. Well, it's not a number. Cardiologist is not like numbers, by the way. Cardiologist like profile. So ECG normal, echo normal, trot normal doesn't mean anything. And you know more than me. So his ejection fraction is 40 to 42, and you can say 40 here, 40 there, 40 here, 40 there. Creatinine is 40, creatinine clearance, 2.2, right? And Improved ejection fraction from 40 to 45 is before is 35 in last echo, which is year ago. And there is something eccentric, insignificant, moderate ischemic MR. Patient already in cardiology therapy, EMBA, ROVA, PCSK9 inhibitor. This means it is very nice medication, honestly. Last year, MRA, 8/100, and even Vastarin 35, which is 3-cat blocker. So the cardiologist, which is treated these patients perfectly, right? It's perfect. Even here, cardiology therapy, beta blocker, SGLT2 inhibitor, statin therapy, PCSK9 inhibitor, even perfectly. MRA, ARNI, and even 3-cat blocker. Yes. They are not with nitrates. They don't give calcium channel, right? Or no? I think you are aware. So my question is, it is safe to continue ARNI in this patient profile after compensation? If you say yes, give me proof. If you say no, give other proof. So who say yes? Perfect. Yeah, easy type of woman. Right. The most single man. I agree with you. We'll see now. Anybody knows what we mean by paramount trial? I want to make it easy for you here. Paramount trial. Everybody knows Paradigms, Pioneer, Wait. But I need everybody knows what's paramount trial say. It's very nicely placebo run out. What is important, by the way, to make a strong trial. They are discontinuing each inhibitor or ARBs therapy 24-hour prior randomization. And then ARNI versus valsartan, ARNI versus valsartan, and they are reaching from 50 BID to 200 there and 160 BID here. Don't become surprised here. The angiotensin blocker vascular therapy can be used BID definitely in heart failure, once a day in hypertension. In order for everybody always to ask this point. Shall I go valsartan therapy BID in heart failure? Yes. It is short acting angiotensin blocker. In hypertension, you can use once a day. Easy? Easy. Here, what exactly Paramount say? Say exactly what we can say. There is dramatically decline in GFR, decline in GFR lower, with secondary valsartan related to valsartan by very statistically significant. That's why don't become panic to stop secondary valsartan or SGLT2 inhibitor as if serum creatinine or SVR is dropped up to 25. Don't worry at all. Lastly here, Paramount is increase what? Increase something very important. Increase serum creatinine level with significant lower receptor valsartan compared to valsartan alone. See how ARNI act in CPD patient, and this patient is mildly reduced or mid-range. Lastly here, UACR, I think this is very important prognostic point of view for nephrologists. They like it. They like it. You can see here's the difference between both of them, secondary valsartan and valsartan. So I need from cardiologists to know what you mean by paramount trial. Paramount trial. Right? In order to add a lot of issue in our service. Paragon, it is mentioned very nicely by our place. What I want to say, I take from them the CPD slides. What is the CPD slides here? You know everything. Paragon, everybody knows. I'm not wasting your time in here, but I want to say something important. All these key exclusion criteria, it has become an inclusion criteria in comic trial, which is published week ago. Right? You can see here, excluded from Paragon any prior ejection fraction less than 40. So it is acting in preserved mainly. Here, current acute decompensated. This means the new trial goes heart failure with preserved function in acute decompensation and then become compensation like Pioneer. Right? The blood pressure in Pioneer is 110. Here is dropped to 100. GFR there is more than 30 or 30. Here dropped to 20. So all these exclusion criteria become inclusion criteria in the new trial which is published week ago. Right? What's exactly here saying? Say, I speak about renal. Renal composed endpoint between valsartan and secretary valsartan, you can see statistically significant between those groups. Even you can choose here. More than 50% decline in GFR, 2.5 in valsartan group and 1.1 in interest group. Easy. Lastly, here, even GFR after 192, you can see the differences. And the p value is 0.001. The GFR over 192. And you can see overall, and it's a very nice issue here, less than 60, more than 60. You want to say? انت بقول لكم الناس مبسوطه جدا عايزين كمان. Okay, nice. It will go quickly. Nice. Lastly here, GFR less than 60, GFR more than 60, even cardiovascular outcome, total heart failure hospitalization, cardiovascular death, all of them is go favorable with secretary valsartan in compared to valsartan alone. Even cardiovascular disease is mentioned by our colleagues. CV death and total heart failure hospitalization. It is very, very nicely to say favorable secretary valsartan in compared to valsartan alone. If the patient is diabetic or not diabetic, you can see the differences. And this is published in the European Journal of Heart Medicine. In patients who have BAF, treatment with secretary valsartan compared to valsartan, it is attenuate the decline in GFR and reduce clinically relevant renal event similar among the patient with and without diabetes. Right? Only 1 or 2 minutes about this publication, which is published work, May 25, 2023. All cardiologists I put it is I in this slide. Why? In order to, the puzzle now is become completed fully. The puzzle of army now, it is completely the puzzling thing. RAF, BAF, mid-range, supposed to use army. Right? These slides say the patient with paraglide trial, they mentioned here, secretary valsartan lead to greater reduction in plasma NAB pro-NAB level compared to valsartan alone after stabilization of worsening heart failure, which is exclusion criteria for paraglide. You get the point or no? Nice. So what we say here, they say here, several society guideline recommended consideration of secretary valsartan to reduce hospitalization in mid-range or preserving function. Recommendation is somebody says, somebody is no. But I will give you the paraglide to be say deviation. Right? Here, this is a trial design. I think everybody is supposed to go and read it. This is very nice. The secretary valsartan versus valsartan, and this go to the maximum target, which is 160 in valsartan and 97 over 103 milligram in Entresto. See here, the primary endpoint, the average proportion change NAB group NAB. Second endpoint, cardiovascular death, heart failure hospitalization, urgent heart failure, NAB group NAB, and the cumulative cardiovascular composite endpoint, and worsening renal function, renal death, and more than 50% decline in GFR. Safety, supposed to be more. Hyperkalemia, there is symptomatic hypotension, worsening renal function, angina. I will go very quickly. Right. Here, this very nice statistically baseline characters, which is not presented in paradigm. For example, here, BMI, so it is can be in very obese patients. In paradigm, no. Here's the ejection fraction. You can see here from 41 to 49 is 24. More than 60, 24. And the main issue from 50 to 60, 52%. See how the trial is strong? Nicely. Here, what is the result? Mirror of pioneer studies. It's become very close. You can see 15% greater reduction with secretary valsartan, improvement between each others. Last year, by wave ratio, you can see 36.91 with secretary valsartan versus 51 in all these parameters. And lastly, not least here, you can see here, additional secondary endpoint. Cardiovascular death, heart failure hospitalization, urgent all of this one go with sequestration valsartan in compared to valsartan alone. And lastly, not least, the unmatched ratio is 46% in this type of overall cardiovascular death, heart failure hospitalization, and to consider about the first row, 37.1 with sequestration valsartan in compared to 26.0 in valsartan. Safety is supposed to be met. The safety here is worse in renal function. It is very, very better in 22% as sequestration valsartan, 31 in valsartan. Hyperkalemia, the hyperkalemia is more with valsartan, right? But hypotension is a little bit more in sequestration valsartan. That's why my concern always be remove the calcium channel blocker and nitrates. Right? So this is a conclusion always be. Paraglide heart failure complement the Paragon heart failure, right? Focus intubation stabilized after worsening heart failure event with ejection fraction of 40, similar to manner of Pioneer, right? Here, Paraglide has no running periods, allowing both newly diagnosed heart failure and improved ejection fraction, and includes that with acute heart failure, which is missed there. Right? Lastly, here, the broad and diverse valvular modulation included in Paraglide's heart failure support to the generalizability of these data to similar patients seen in routine practice. I will go to the answer and then we'll finish. I think everybody now knows the answer, right? The time. Nice. NOI classification always be dynamic. What I want to say for you, class 1 NIHA not mean is fine. Class 4 NIHA not feel is very badly. Why? This is exactly what the guideline mentioned. It is important to understand that NOI classification of patient is not a linear. Why? Patient is very compliant to therapy, so it's become 1. Patient is stop it, it's become class 3, so it is dynamic. Lastly here, definitely, see how heart failure with preserved function is very badly? Nicely. بث ده الهوم مسج بتاخدها كده كل يوم. الهارت فيلر with preserved function ملخص المحاضرة دي. Right? الناس الكارديولوجي الشطار لازم يحسبوا دي. Nicely here. Army and ECG to not become bad. Continue. Heart failure with ADP group, that is chronic group, but when people obese patient and end-stage renal disease. So don't rely on him. Lastly here, definitely the answer is no. Right? The answer is no. As in acute coronary syndromes, right? ADP was found to be strongest independent predictor of fibril necrosis, but also guided therapy. What's your answer? No, the answer is no. Why? The guideline mentioned for diagnosis class 1, but guided therapy is class 2. Don't make it biochemical marker to guide which therapy. Lastly, for foundational therapy, ECG inhibitors, regardless of ejection fraction, the answer is yes. Paraglides is totally different. No, it's not totally different. It's complementary. Okay. Why is complementary? It is always hit. The systolic blood pressure in this patient is less than 100 times. De novo, which is not there. Here, severe obese patient, more than 40 is included in that lines. And lastly, here, GFR, it is go down up to 20. Right? So now the puzzle of ARNI therapy, it is totally completed. That's why even the abstract goes together now, as if it is one abstract. Right or no? This is important for cardiology, by the way. Lastly here, last one. Heart failure patient discontinuing calcium channel blocker and nitrate quickly. Stop it if you are not needed. Right? Paraglide trial with BEF is mirrored to Pioneer and REF. What do you think? Thank you very much. I like this way. If you are good, just 1 second. If you are good evidence-based, even if you are weak, nobody can touch you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ayman. please share us on lunch in Spears restaurant. Thank you very much.
حضرتك